Hey there! Welcome to another live stream. As you can see, I'm going to be talking about my picks for the worst films of 2022. This is a list that I've been working on for quite a long time. That's why I haven't really got around to doing this list or sharing this list until now in the year 2023. But better late than never. I sent an invite out to Matt. If he's got time, he can drop by if he wants. If not, I'm just gonna go solo. So I'm gonna wait a little bit to get started. To wait for a few more people to drop in. Um, hey Monoval. Hey there, DJ. Hey there, Cole. RJ. Gonna have to wait and see. In terms of whether or not Scream 5 is gonna be on the list. Uh, Cole, no, I haven't seen The Town. I haven't seen that movie yet. I think it I think I saw the trailer for it, and I have it on, Blu-ray. Oh. Oh, I didn't know Matt's doing a commentary on Trevor's too. Well, I hope he's having a blast doing that. I can't this is my only night off right now. I couldn't do it on Saturday because I had too many other plans, too many other things to do. So yeah, 3 people streaming at the same time. So, I hope you all take some time to, just drop on by. Um, so sat through Peter Pan and Wendy Bonneville. Yeah, the trailer looked like trash, so I didn't even bother watching that movie. Maybe if I get a request for it, I might. Cole, I haven't seen the new Mario movie yet. I do have a link for it though. I will try to check it out sometime. Hey there, Quiet Chris. Hey there, movie reviewer next door. Hope you all are doing good. Got off work and I thought might be a fun time to do like a stream for just a little bit because I need I just need something to kind of just take my mind off of just an insane day at work. Cool. Hey there, Fred Mater. Uh, Since you just saw Renfield, what are your favorite Nicolas Cage films and roles? I like The Rock. I really like Raising Arizona. I think that's a really good movie. Really great Nicolas Cage performance. I love Mandy. I think that's a really good one. I also like Willy's Wonderland. Um, Nick Cage is good in a lot of stuff. I also like him in the Moonstruck. I think that's a pretty good movie as well. Renfield, he's also great in too. Honestly, I would say his performance in Renfield is why Renfield for me is a little bit better than Sisu in my eyes, and even though I really like Sisu. Um, let's see here. Hey there, Jonathan. Yeah, I'll get around to those sometime for sure. I'm gonna try to get around to some of the other requests that I got first, but I'll cycle back around to those when I get the opportunity. Yeah, I heard about June for Avatar and Avatar 2. I don't know what's going on with the Abyss in other James Cameron movies. I'm telling you, like the source that I got the information from is totally legit. It's just something's going on with Disney just shuffling their feet with the release. Um, but anyway, I'll just get started with this list. I'm gonna start from the bottom. The bottom of this list has a bunch of stuff that I just kind of have as technically an honorable mention for the worst of. They're not really on the official list, even though some of these films are really, really awful. It's just I didn't really want to include a lot of direct to video, direct to streaming, kind of stuff. So I don't think it's false hope. I think it's legitimately going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It just wasn't happening in March. There's stuff like this just gets delayed or switched around all the time, and Disney is just notorious for not really giving a shit about physical media. So they're probably just shuffling things around. Um, but yeah, the first thing I have in this list in the honorable mention portion is or dishonorable mention. That's really a better way to put it, because these aren't honorable films by any means. At Circuit City, there's no Circuit City. Circuit City doesn't exist anymore. So they're only coming to Circuit City, a store that doesn't exist. Man, no wonder we will never see those two on in 4K. But anyway, speaking of films that, well, let's just say, speaking of things that don't exist, or at least things that shouldn't exist, let's start talking about these dishonorable mentions. So the first one that I have here is Hex, the skydiving horror movie where there was some dumb curse that happened, where they did a cursed skydiving maneuver, and it caused everyone to be essentially marked for death. Uh, that film is terrible. I definitely wouldn't don't have it on as one of the worst of the worst, despite how bad it is. But it's a really bad movie. It's got some poor production values, bad acting, dumb script, and some really egregious editing, and like the worst sex scene I've ever seen in anything. So yeah, Hex is pretty fucking awful. It isn't really that hilarious though. It's just bad. It's just bad and boring for the most part, with a lot of bad CGI. Speaking of bad and boring, the next one I have is Pursuit, the film with the corpse of John Cusack and Emil Hirsch. Just a really forgettable, lame direct to streaming action movie. Oh, hey, cool, Cole. Yeah, yeah. Mark for Death is fun. It's not my personal favorite of Seagal's filmography. There definitely are other films featuring Seagal that I like more, especially from this era. But it's still pretty solid, pretty enjoyable movie. I don't think I've reviewed it. Like, I think I was thinking about doing some early Seagal reviews, but then I just kind of forgot about it. Even though I was doing a lot of Steven Seagal uh, um, marathons for a little bit, like a few months ago. But yeah, Pursuit is terrible. Like, do not pursue that movie. Whatever the cost, it's not worth it. It really isn't. It's a really bad movie, and it's one of those things where it's like, John Cusack, man, just retire. Like, for Christ's sakes, why continue to embarrass yourself with these low budget, shitty streaming movies? Out for Justice is my favorite too. Um, yeah, I still haven't seen Monsters Inc. I've heard about it, but I have not seen that movie. Oh, Brian Skiba, he did another film. The second should be more like the number two because it's shit. The second? What kind of title is that? The second. I don't know. Maybe it might be decent. I don't know. Brian Skibas is a pretty bad director, so I don't know about that. The next film that I have on the dishonorable mentions list. Oh, because the Second Amendment. Okay. All right. Yeah, he does. He looks extremely bored. Like and part of me doesn't blame him. I mean, how can you? It's really hard to get up for some of these projects for sure, because they stink so bad. But the next one that I have on my dishonorable mention list is House of Darkness. A really just boring, tedious, forgettable horror film where Justin Long is yet again playing another character who's down bad, but this time around you have a distinctly feminist angle with the script, and it's really irritating with the whole like, oh, men suck and all men are the same type bullshit. And then they throw in like vampires into it with this coven of female vampires who are trying to get revenge on these men that abused them when they were young, and so they just feed on problematic men. It's like, just awful. Yeah, he did the Wicker Man remake, which, to be honest, is a million times better than House of Darkness. Or, yeah, as D-Man calls it, House of Dorkness. Is a better way to put it. And this particular film probably could be like in the top 5 if I felt like I wanted to put a direct to streaming cheap jack horseshit movie on the list, but I decided not to. And that one is Dracula, the original living vampire, which is a asylum mockbuster of Morbius. Yeah, you know it's bad when you're doing a mockbuster of Morbius with Michael Ironside, who's looking very worse for wear, and a bunch of no-name actors and actresses. That film is torture. It is really, really awful. I do not recommend that film at all. Even for a laugh, like it's just another one of those things where even though yeah, it's Asylum, it's just boring. It's a snooze fest. And now we're gonna get to the titles that I have on the list that have a bit more of a budget behind them. So number 16 on this list for me is X. And I know for a lot of people, X is something that would be on their best of list from last year. Not for me personally, because I was very disappointed by that film. It's a slasher film that doesn't get to the kills until almost an hour into the movie. It's called a slasher film. It's supposed to, slash early on and fairly often. It's not supposed to be a slow burn. Like, how many slow burn slashers have you ever seen? Not many, right? For a good reason. And X sucked to me. I didn't like a lot of the characters. I thought the whole stuff with the younger actors playing the older people in makeup was laughable. It looked like a sketch or something from a sketch comedy, or a skit, and it was just bad. I thought it was a bad movie. Like it's not super high on the list because I've seen worse, but I still thought it sucked, and I definitely thought it was overhyped. What's interesting about Ty West and about X is the film's prequel, Pearl. I saw that, and I actually didn't mind that. I thought that was actually pretty decent. They Them. I haven't seen that one yet. That one honestly sounds like it could be worse than X, and X is pretty bad. I'm usually not interested in Asylum's films either, Monteval, but that was a request, so that's why I ultimately saw it. So far, it's only 8 reviews. Oh, so you're talking? Oh yeah, you guys are still talking about Indiana Jones and Dial Destiny. Yeah, it's probably gonna go lower. Be pretty bad. I don't know. Maybe I'll check those out someday. Yeah, Pearl was actually pretty good. I think it helped that it was more of an intriguing sort of thing. Like it wasn't trying to be old people or disgusting and creepy and dealing with the fear of being old and having the ridiculousness of having a killer who is just killing these younger people because she can't get it up. Because that's what the ultimate revelation was with X, is that the killer was killing all these people because of the fact that she was old and she couldn't get off anymore. Yeah, Jenna Ortega was half naked in X, but that's not really enough of a plus for me personally. But yeah, X, not a fan. X did not mark the spot. Number 15 for me was Studio 666, the Foo Fighters movie. I will say this about this movie. This is why I had it ranked, I guess, higher than X in terms of its place on the list, even though I thought it had a little bit more going for it than X, because of how much more disappointing it was. Like X, I didn't really expect a whole lot from it to begin with, despite the praise it was getting. But Studio 666, I saw the film, and even though I'm not like a diehard Foo Fighters fan, I like those kind of movies, like the heavy metal horror films. And it has some really great practical gore in it. And that's why it's worse than X to me, is because X did have some decent gore, but the gore in Studio 666 was honestly even better. Like there's a whole scene where somebody gets cut in half lengthwise with a chainsaw and it's done practically. Another scene where a guy gets his head cleaved in two with a symbol, and it's all done practically as well. And yeah, there were some good practical effects, but the film was ultimately kind of a waste because of the fact that the Foo Fighters, they can't fucking act. Exactly, Neopunk. They cannot act. And so it's hard to really get into the film because of the fact that they're so limited when it comes to their ability to act. And then you get to the ending of the movie, which is just another predictable dumb twist where, everyone is screwed, which makes the film even more of a pointless movie to watch. But definitely a pointless rewatch unless you're a diehard Foo Fighters fan. So yeah, it also felt like a VH1 original movie, almost as sort of its sort of feel or vibe, like an MTV movie. Definitely a vanity project, and there were some good bits of gore, but that was really about it. The next one I have on my list is a controversial entry, probably even more controversial than X, and that is Barbarian. This film was a darling for the horror genre last year for a lot of people, for a lot of critics, and a lot of fans. And I think that's great. I think that's wonderful. But I did not care for this film. I thought it was nowhere near as funny or as clever as the writer thought the whole concept was, or other people felt it was. I'm sorry, a mother on steroids, which is straight from I'm sorry about that. I don't know what somebody was just unloading clothes in the middle of a stream. Thank you. Um this is what happens when things are live, folks. But I would rather fold those clothes than watch Barbarian again, to be perfectly honest. That film was that disappointing. But yeah, I don't consider like a mother on steroids with a giant baby bottle to be the pinnacle of humor, or the whole stuff with the whiplash inducing twist with Justin Long's character after the first 30 minutes of the movie. Yeah, I think some people are in that boat. I think some people do have let's just say, a more discerning palate, or they're more willing to have a little bit higher standards for the horror genre. But there are other people that I see it with every horror film that comes out that have lower expectations. They think, oh, it's just because it's a horror film, then it's great and it's good. Um, and I'm not in that boat. And Barbarian, I thought it was lame. I thought it wasn't really as great as people made it out to be. The whole fact that Zach Krager wrote like the first 30 minutes of the movie, and the only reason why he did that is to put in as many red flags that he possibly could for a dating scenario between uh a woman and another man because of some book that he read, some series of essays. I thought that was a red flag in itself because he just made shit up as he went along for the rest of the script. That's why the characters are so weak. That's why a lot of stuff from the overall film is so lackluster, is because he didn't really put as much thought into it, because he just rushed things, because he didn't have a full fleshed out concept to work with from the very beginning. He was just throwing shit out there and hoping that he found something that stuck. That's why the film is so scatterbrained when it comes to its script. I think some people, yeah, some people are. I've never even heard of either one of those critics. But cool. I mean, I didn't mind Pearl, so there's that. But Barbarian, nah, not for me. Did not care for that film. Wasn't as gonzo or as crazy or as insane as people make it out to be either. I'm like, this seemed like a lamer version of Castle Freak. Uncharted is the next one I have on my list. I've never played the games, but I've seen people do playthroughs of them, and it looks like a fun series. And I like Nathan Drake as a character from what I've seen and from what I've heard, because I'm a big fan of like Indiana Jones and those type of adventurers. And I enjoyed Tomb Raider, not the new Tomb Raider movie, but I like the Tomb Raider films, at least the first Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie, and I didn't mind a couple of the Tomb Raider games. But Uncharted, it was something that did appeal to me, even as somebody who hadn't played the games yet. But I was very leery of it from the casting. First off, you have uh, Tom Holland, who is playing Nathan Drake, and it's just a really, really bad casting choice. So out of place, not believable in the slightest. Yeah, you cannot believe you. It's not believable to have Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, even as a young Nathan Drake. He still looks like he's 15. It's like casting Michael J. Fox as Indiana Jones. I love Michael J. Fox, but it's just not a good fit, and I feel that way about Nathan Drake. And it doesn't help either that in the film itself, I mean, Nathan Drake, he's just completely screwed over in terms of how they portray this character. He's a total wimp most of the time. Like there's that scene near the end where he gets the gun, which is considered to be pretty iconic for the franchise, and he immediately loses it without even using it once. And if Tom Holland isn't bad enough, then you got Marky Mark and his Funky Bunch just lazily sleepwalking through every scene that he's in as Sully. And it felt like sloppy seconds of National Treasure mixed with, a Mission Impossible movie or something, with a lot of just cheap looking bad CGI that looked like a cutscene from the video game, which just made it even more pointless. It's like, oh, I might as well just play the video game then if that's what I'm gonna get from it. And the villain sucked. It was even a waste of Antonio Banderas, and he got replaced by this other chick who was trash. So, yeah. Bad movie. Forgettable. Um, not much to say about that. Um, you didn't miss it. I'll give you a bit of a rundown, Psycho Hobo. So I've got because I went through a bunch of dishonorable mentions to start with, like Hex, Pursuit, House of Darkness, Dracula, Original Living Vampire, and then I went into like my top 16 worst, which I started with X, and then I went to Studio 666, and then Barbarian. So I haven't even gotten into the top 10 yet. And number 13 was the one that I was talking about recently, which was Uncharted. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for not seeing it. It did pretty well though, apparently. I guess it did decent enough in the box office that we might get more, which I'm really looking forward to for sure. Yeah, I'm getting a little tired of him too. He's playing the same character and everything. He's been really typecast, and I don't know if it's necessarily due to his limitations as an actor, which I'm starting to think that's the case, or just the type of roles that they're giving him. Hey there, Extreme Spidey guy. Um, I'll do that in a separate stream sometime because I have so many different I have a lot more movies on my best and honorable mentions list than worst. But going back to the worst list, number 12 for me is a film called Watcher. Another film that got a decent amount of praise, directed by Chloe Akuno, that came out last year. Stars Micah Monroe, who you might recognize. She was in the film It Follows. I think she was the lead in that. And I liked her in that movie, but not so much here. This is one of those movies where you watch it and you wait for something to happen for the majority of the running time. It's like a really pathetic, weak ass version of like Rear Window, but like in a different country, and with the whole sort of stuff with the male gaze, where you have this female character who feels like she's being stalked and watched by this guy, and of course you have the typical sort of stuff where people don't believe her. But here's the twist, folks. Here's the craziest thing about Watcher. The twist is that the killer, the guy that she initially thought was the one that was stalking her and maybe other women, uh he was the guy all along. That's the twist for you. And at the end of the movie, she, I guess, shoots the guy after a crazy amount of time where it seems like she bled out after getting stabbed, if I remember correctly. So she shoots the guy, and I guess somehow she survives from her wounds, I guess, to watch another day. It's been forever since I've seen the movie or watched Watcher, so I might have some things mixed up, but man, was that film just completely totally forgettable and overhyped. Totally overrated. I know it was another film that like the Red Letter Media guys gave a ton of praise to, and I did not get that at all. That film sucked. So yeah, Watcher. Um, oh yeah, Firestarter. Actually didn't add this. I didn't add this to the list. The Firestarter remake. You know, Retro Scotty. Now that you mentioned that, I just blanked, and I guess I forgot that I watched that movie. That would be on my worst too. That would be somewhere on here, probably around the same area as Uncharted and Watcher here at Spiderhead. But yeah, Firestarter, the Firestarter remake was pretty terrible too. The lead girl, the actress who's playing Charlie, she was pretty bad. Not Razzie bad, but still pretty bad. Zac Efron was trying, but there's only so much he could do with it. There, you could tell that they didn't have a lot of money to work with, so the budget was definitely not there on the screen in terms of showcasing some solid practical effects. A lot of really cheap looking CGI, bad script. And the first Firestarter isn't even the best adaptation to begin with or that great of a movie. Like it's something that legitimately could have been improved upon, but I just didn't see it with this remake. And it was unfortunate because I had a good opening credit scene with the origins of the shop and with music by John Carpenter, and it was a really crazy, wild, insane opening credit sequence. And I thought that the movie was going to be more like that in terms of its tone, and it wasn't at all. So yeah, that one sucked. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like the story felt incomplete, felt rushed. Exactly. 100%. Um so yeah, after Watcher I had Spiderhead, which was a film that came out last year directed by Joseph Kaczynski. It starred Chris Hemsworth and Miles Teller and Journey Smollett. There's an interesting idea where Chris Hemsworth played this scientist guy who was experimenting with these drugs, and he was testing the side effects on people, and it was just a clusterfuck of a movie. Like the script was just all over the place. The tone was just not consistent. It had issues with character depth or giving you a reason to really care about a lot of these characters. Had an ending that was just one of those just really bizarre, just weird endings that just feels like the movie just stopped and didn't really build up to anything substantial. Which is unfortunate. A lot of people involved with this are pretty talented, like Joseph Kaczynski, the director. I mean, even the people who wrote the film, like the writers. I mean, the writers are Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who worked on other successful, solid films. Yeah, it was boring. Snooze fest. Put you to sleep. Sleephead. um. Hey there, Dante. Retro. In terms of the draft, like I would say for right now, like a C. I need to see a little bit more from some of the later draft picks. I really love Mozzie Smith, and I really think Deuce is a good pick in the 6th round. But I'm iffy on Schoonmaker, and there's just it's kind of a C for me right now. But it could ultimately be like a B plus. No, I haven't seen the teaser for that yet. I don't know about that. Actually, I haven't seen Black Adam, but it is a paid request, so I will be seeing that fairly soon. So who knows? Maybe it might make the list retroactively. But after Spiderhead on my list, now we're getting into my top 10, and number 10 is the 355. I saw that movie before it left Amazon. Um, Seem I have no plans currently to review any Bollywood action movies. Maybe I'll check out RRR someday because I didn't mind the new trailer that came out for it. But yeah, the 355. Speaking of action, really awful, just generic. The generic, just an unbelievably generic action thriller with an all-female cast, and none of them had any chemistry. The action was abysmal. The the dialogue was cringe. The attempts at humor were really bad. There was a whole scene near the end with Sebastian Stan's character where Jessica Chastain, she basically tells him that she will no longer be mansplained by him. That is actually a legitimate quote that ends the 355. I mean, maybe it would be. I don't know for sure. I would love to see Roman Reigns do a Superman punch on every cast member in the 355. Rather see that than the 355 again. She was green screened in. Not not surprised if that was the case. Yeah, exactly. Dead. The movie's dead when you have to do shit like that. Awful. Terrible movie. Next up I have Prey, which I know that film having that on my worst list is controversial as well, considering the insane amount of praise that film got last year. Speaking of Prey, that film got praised out the ass last year, but have you really been seeing a lot of people talking about that movie lately? And for those of you that have seen Prey, do you really have an inkling or a desire to watch that film again? Feel free and be honest. Because I have no desire to watch that shit again. Like I did not care for Prey the first time around. I thought it was a overhyped, overrated movie with a bad performance by the lead actress and a really stupid ending where the predator was a fucking dumbass who got defeated because he's an idiot who doesn't know how his own technology works. There was some decent gore, okay scene with the predator, and the concept is not necessarily a horrible idea. And hey, it's cool. It's cool if you like Prey. I know a lot of people did, but would do you have a desire to watch that again? Let's be honest, like over Predator or Predator 2. Um yeah, I hated the Predator, the Predator Killer. That movie sucked. I would say the Predator was worse because it was more insulting. Prey was still bad. It looked like it looked like a direct to streaming or direct to video movie, and really bad lead. You didn't sympathize with her at all with the whole like, why don't you take me seriously? I can hunt. Why do you think I can't hunt? Is it because I'm a woman? And a lot of that was laid on too thick. And the script did a bad job making it believable that she could be a hunter, that she could hold her own, because they just showed her fail over and over and over again until all of a sudden she was amazing and was able to just do all this shit by the end of the movie. Hey, it is what it is. But thank you, Psycho Hobo. Thanks for the super chat. Um, yeah, it is worse. With the weaponized autism and all that other bullshit. And yeah, I do feel the Predator 2 is better than any post Predator 2 sequel. But yeah, Prey. The next one I have is Morbius, which is more like more BS, which is true. It's more bullshit, more of the same, just bad, generic, just lame, forgettable shit that you've seen in a million comic book films. And just really bad. Nothing. There's not much at all that was even redeemable about Morbius. Like I guess you could give it maybe faint praise by saying that it was bad, but kind of tolerably bad when it comes to other films from 2022. Like it wasn't as upsetting as some of these other movies that I have on this list, but it was still really bad. Jared Leto was an awful lead who had no charisma, did not fit in the role, was not able to carry the film or a franchise didn't help either that there are lines of dialogue where he's talking about Cheetos and other fucking lame bullshit and supposed to be a scientist, but he doesn't even sound like one half the time. And he's got all these powers and shit, but like all of it's just really bad CGI. And for some reason, I don't know why I couldn't say reason there, but for some reason, it's not even rated R for a vampire movie. Like for all the people that are like defending Blade, the new Blade from Marvel being PG-13, I'm like, you saw Morbius, didn't you? Didn't you see that film? Like I'm pretty sure that it would be just as bad, just as awful, because it does not work. Does not work at all. I mean, it would have been higher on my list if it wasn't for these other movies. But yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, Craven the Hunter is going to be R-rated. They don't make Venom movies or Morbius R-rated, but Craven, it really does make you think that the people behind these Sony Marvel movies are just fucking high. They're high on shrooms or cocaine or some shit, and they just do random fucking things. Like, oh, we'll make Craven R-rated, but not Venom or Morbius. And don't even get me started on what's his name. I don't think it's Stan Smith. I think that's a musician. The guy who played Matt Smith, the guy who played the villain, uh he was terrible too. Embarrassing with the whole scene where he's dancing, singing or whatever the hell that was. Awful. It doesn't help, yeah, it doesn't help either that Morbius wasn't that relevant. Like just flat out don't do the movie. Like, why waste the money? Why have a Morbius movie? Morbius is a character that works better as like a just a guy on the side. You know, like in an episode of Spider-Man the animated series. Yeah, they're clueless. That's why they're doing the Madam Web movie. I haven't seen Moonfall yet, Retro Scotty. I haven't seen that one yet, so it's not on my list. Oh yeah, Let There Be Carnage being PG-13. I still haven't seen that movie because of that. Because I'm a big Carnage fan. I've been waiting to see Carnage on the big screen or on film for years. And as soon as I saw it PG-13, I was like, fuck that. Oh, I'm gonna watch that shit. PG-13 Carnage. Give me a fucking break. So Morbius definitely did suck. But another one that sucked, I would probably say even worse, is Men. The Alex Garland masterpiece, apparently. I did not like that movie. This is where Alex Garland apparently was trying to throw his hat in the feminist ring. Why, I have no idea. But yeah, he wrote this script where he made it so all men suck. And apparently that includes him too. I do not understand the thought process. And it's a waste of a concept. Like, if you're going to do a film like this in today's landscape, do something different than just doing another movie where all men are misogynists, all men are sexist, all men are ists. Like, focus on the other side, maybe talk about how there are some women who are infected with toxic femininity instead of just talking about toxic masculinity. And it doesn't help either that the film is taking itself so seriously, and you got ridiculous scenes of this guy who's naked with his twig and berries hanging out with leaves and twigs growing out of his face. and then you have a scene at the end where a man gives birth to multiple men, like something out of Extro. No, I actually haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse yet. I'm probably gonna check that out finally for the first time leading up to the sequel. Yeah, I know. Yeah, always Spider-Man villain movies without Spider-Man. It's dumb. Did I see the trailer to Five Nights at Freddy? Actually, I did, and it wasn't much of anything to me. Like, it looked cheap, and honestly, it looked like something that I would see on YouTube, and it didn't look like it cost any more than Willy's Wonderland, to be perfectly honest. But that's just me personally. Not much of a trailer. Decent looking animatronics, though. Give it that. Yeah, men sucked. Yeah, it was definitely woke trash. Um, the next one I have on my list, speed of woke trash, what is Hocus Pocus 2? Yeah, Hocus Pocus 2. Wow. That's a prime example of a sequel that was made way too many years too late. That didn't have a whole lot of thought put into it. It was only made cashed in on nostalgia, and the results are terrible. The three ladies, leading ladies, the Sanderson sisters, they barely have any chemistry at all, which is crazy compared, which really is crazy because they had tons of chemistry in the first movie. The new characters, they suck or they're not likable at all. And they do woke bullshit where they change things around and turn the Sanderson sisters, who were entertaining, deliciously evil villains who were taken advantage of and stealing kids' souls, and they turned them into sympathetic, tragic characters where, oh, they're not really that bad. They were just manipulated. They're not really evil. So awful. Terrible. Also, there was no reason to even have the sequel to begin with. It made no sense. Why are you having a sequel? Why did the Sanderson sisters even come back? Because some guy who saw them fly away on Halloween night decided to make a black flame candle and just decided, well, I want them back. The reason for why he wanted them back was never really clarified. Just lazy. Yeah, typical. Exactly. Typical nostalgia cash grab bullshit from Disney. Try to get people to go to the Disney Plus and subscribe. Yeah, definitely hocus wocus. Now we have the top 5 or the bottom 5, however you want to call it. Number 5 is Scream. Scream 6. I saw that in the theater. I thought it sucked then. I still think it sucks. I think it's better than Scream 5, but that's not saying much because Scream 5 was just woefully bad. Um, yeah, Scream 5 is bad, but Scream 6 is still bad. First off, it's just a total waste of the concept. They don't actually do a whole lot in New York. So it's essentially another. Oh no, I mean Scream 6. I mean Scream 6. It's top 5, worst of 2022. The Scream 5 came out, you know, I think it was last year or the year before. But that one's definitely, it came out the year before because last year was 2022. But yeah, I hated Scream 5. Killing Dewey was just awful. But Scream 6 is still bad. Like I was saying, they had the whole concept of oh yeah, Scream. I'm getting all mixed up. Yeah, yeah, because Scream 6 actually Scream 5. Yeah, god damn it. And sorry, it's just one of those things where fucking forgot it came out last year, and I saw Scream 6, but Scream 6 is still bad. But anyway, yeah, Scream 5 is worse. Like Scream 5 is really bad. I actually thought Scream 4 was actually better than Scream 5. And killing Dewey was just despicable, uncalled for. Didn't need to do that. And yeah, I got all mixed up because these Scream films are so fucking lame post Scream 4. It's like why we don't need them, and they're easy to mix up because you're like, wait a second, it feels like it's the same movie in some ways. Um, yeah, teach their own. Like I don't think that it's better than 4 and 5 combined. Like Scream 4, I think is a lot better. But Scream 5 with this whole sort of thing, doing another take on reboots, or sequels to reboots, or sequels to the original that's also a reboot. It was just lazy. They already kind of went there with Scream 4. Scream 5 is a prime example of how they didn't really have anywhere else to go with this franchise, which is what I was afraid of going into the film. And then after seeing the movie, that was solidified. I didn't really like a lot of the new characters, including Jenna Ortega, her fan favorite character, or the lead girl who's the daughter of what's his name from the other films. Um, for some reason, his name is escaping me. Probably Skeet Ulrich's character, probably because the CGI is probably the scariest thing in the entire movie. This the CGI that they use for his character, where they de-age him. Billy, thank you, Casey. Where they take Billy and de-age him, and it just looks like shit. Um, but yeah, killing Dewey alone was just really, really, really uncalled for. Yeah, I would say the most frustrating Scream film is definitely Scream 5. Hey man, I like Latinas with huge eyes too, but she had the acting ability of a piece of cardboard. Scream 7 is going to be set in the space. Yeah, probably. It's going to be like Jason X or Leprechaun 4. Um, Still can't believe I got things mixed up with Scream 6. Fucking Scream movies. God damn it. Um, yeah, it's pretty bad. It definitely is. Like, not even the kills were even that memorable or that strong. The direction wasn't even really that great either. Um, hey, it's cool. That's cool if you still like Scream 5. Um, Even like the way they handled like Sydney and some of these other characters, like it did. It felt like sloppy seconds some of the other movies in the series. I thought that both Gale and Sydney had better moments in Scream 4 compared to Scream 5. Yeah, the first film had some really good writing. I would still say the first film is the best one for sure. Oh yeah, the Flash movie where it's another one of those things where it's like Spider-Man, that the last Spider-Man movie where yeah, we don't think Spider-Man is strong enough to carry his own movie at this point, especially not the actor who's playing him. So we're going to have all these other actors who played other heroes in the past, and we're going to throw them into the movie, and then we're going to have all these other superheroes because the Flash and the character of the Flash, especially the one portrayed by Ezra Miller, we don't have any faith in him to carry the film. So here's Michael Keaton as Batman again, and here's Supergirl, and please go see the movie. Um, I'm not gonna see it in the theater. Like, I'll just wait till it comes out in streaming, even though I'm a big fan of Michael Keaton's Batman. Yeah, that's a good point, Jonathan. Scream 5 was like Alien 3 to the franchise. But yeah, Scream 5 sucked. That was the fifth worst of last year for me. Um, Fourth worst, another unnecessary, unneeded entry in a horror film franchise. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. The reason why I have it above Scream 5 is just because of the fact that Scream 5 was bad, but there were like a few technical merits. There were a few things involved with that film and a few elements of the script that I thought were somewhat decent. This film though was just pure shit all the way through. Uh I mean, I could see that. I mean, I really did not like The Next Generation at all. I thought that film was really bad too. But at least that had Matthew McConaughey and his character that I could get some entertainment out value out of. The third film was disappointing, but definitely a lot better than this one. The remake, I think, is underrated. The beginning is not really that great either, but it's still better than this. And the prequel, from what I remember, it wasn't really that strong, but it had some decent bits of gore and an okay performance. But this, ugh, I mean, first off, just and of course, Texas Chainsaw 3D with its ridiculous timeline that makes no sense, and the whole bit with Leatherface at the end, where now he's like a hero, I guess. Um, do your thing, cuz there's a lot of just bad Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. To be perfectly honest, there's only two good Texas Chainsaw, like three for me. There's the original, there's the second one, and there's the remake. That's it. Every other Texas Chainsaw Massacre film sucks, and the 2022 film is another one. Yeah, try anything and you're canceled, bro. God, that was so bad. And I remember seeing people like defend the movie when it came out. Oh no, it's great. It's not as bad as people make it out to be because of the fact that it's got good gore. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. So many of these other Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequels have good gore, but they still suck. Yeah, I talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 at one point. It's not great, but it's a lot better than Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. Yeah, how does he manage to move around so quickly? I don't know. Magic, I guess. Also, speaking of that, like, being a dumb logic, how the fuck did no one find Leatherface after decades if he was just in that town? Some small town in Texas in the middle of nowhere. You even had a line of dialogue where they're telling me they tried for decades to find him and they didn't succeed. I'm like, why? Were you not looking hard enough? Like, I know Texas is a big state, it's a big place, but you had decades to look through and try to find this guy. It's bullshit. Just as about as much bullshit as what they do to Sally Hardesty. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Great point. Her dying in trash. It speaks for the franchise's current state. Yeah, all these characters would be 80 plus years old. Yeah. Laughable. And yeah, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 it is. It's a flaming bag of dog shit. I still haven't seen any of the Terrifier films. The second one seemed particularly off-putting to me because of its over 2-hour running time. No slasher film has any business being over 2 hours. This isn't a Stanley Kubrick movie. You're like, "Oh, but, The Shining isn't really a slasher film to me anyway." Uh, we're getting more of these movies. Why? Because of the fact that there's so many people in the horror community that just want the same thing. They just want repeats and rehashes of these horror icons. They want more. And it doesn't necessarily matter if what they get is actually good or high quality. They just want more. And speaking of not high quality, number 3 on my list is the Munsters. Yeah, Rob Zombie does the Munsters dirty here. I mean, no, it's not rated R, and everyone's not swearing in every other line of dialogue, but it's still really bad. It's cringe inducing to watch because there's just terrible, awful attempts at being campy or corny in ways that aren't even remotely authentic. Jokes that just die and just are dragged out to just extreme lengths. It's just torturous. Just an unbelievable torturous just shit pile. Yeah, most of the Scream franchise is in the 2 hour, but they're not 2 hours and 20 something minutes, most of them. They're not that long. But at the same time, I mean, at least the first 3 films, maybe even the fourth, and they're still better quality than a lot of these other like extended elevated horror movies, at least in terms of entertainment value. I'll take a 2 hour long Scream movie over Midsummer, or what was the new one? Beau is Afraid. I'll take that. But that's just me. But yeah, Rob Zombie doing established IPs dirty as usual. Exactly. And I'm like, why the hell did he do this? Like, I heard he did it because he's a fan of the Munsters. But after seeing the movie, I'm like, I don't see fan. I see somebody who willingly decided to besmirch the good name of the Munsters and just royally fuck it up and make it so the franchise is dead and buried. It's like, why the hell would you do this if you're such a fan of the films and do such a bad job? It's just it's baffling to me. Maybe he just wanted to make it as bad as he possibly could so then nobody else could do a Munsters movie. I don't know. I have no idea. It's just one of those things where it definitely does not fit his his approach, his writing, and once again having Sherry Moon Zombie in a lead role with tons of dialogue and tons of opportunities to act is a disgrace to anyone's eyeballs and eardrums. Um, yeah, the Addams Family was a million times better, but it's because it's a good script, good writing, a better director, Barry Sonnenfeld. Yeah, Neil Punk. Did he ever make a good movie? Well, I mean, I don't see. I don't hate House of a Thousand Corpses or The Devil's Rejects. Like, I think out of his entire filmography, those are probably the two that are the most decent. And I think there are some elements of the Halloween remake, as bad as that is, that are tolerable. And there's some intriguing sort of concepts in some of these other films that he's done, like Lords of Salem and even that animated movie that he did. But I mean, he's just not, I don't think he's ever done a great film. And I don't think he ever will at this point. I really don't. What's my least favorite film of his? Probably Halloween 2. Hobo Michael Myers. Are you a giant? Fuck out of here with that nonsense. So, speaking of Halloween, might as well start talking about Halloween Ends, which is the next film that I have on the list. Do I think Rob Zombie got the memo? No, he didn't. He's just gonna keep casting her as long as he's being hired to direct movies, and studios are gonna give him money to make these films. It's a guarantee that his wife is gonna be in the cast. It's a guarantee. But yeah, Halloween Corey in the house. Oh man. Now I got that joke. Because at first I was kind of like, huh? But then I'm like, oh yeah, that Disney Channel show. With Massey, the kid who when he grew up became an adult who got addicted to all kinds of drugs and got involved in like all kinds of crazy shit. Sounds like his actual life post that show is scarier than anything in Halloween Ends. But yeah, Halloween Ends just bad, really bad. I apologize on behalf of all dudes named Corey. Yeah, I really do not know what anyone involved with that movie was thinking with that. I mean, Halloween Kills, it got a lot of bad reviews. A lot of people weren't fans of it, and I get it. I enjoyed it as a fun, like, middle portion of what I thought was going to be a bigger story, a bigger trilogy. Uh and it wasn't anything. It wasn't a part of anything. Like what even did Halloween Kills serve in terms of a purpose other than killing one of the characters off and I guess setting things up for the girl to the I think it's like the cousin or the niece or whatever of Lori to then I guess be in a position where she could be so attached to Corey. But other than that, there really isn't much of a reason for Halloween Kills in terms of its place in the trilogy, other than here's some kills. I thought it was gonna also to be a placeholder. It's gonna be a set piece that's gonna lead to something bigger, and that's not what happened at all. Instead, it just led to a bigger pile of shit in Halloween Ends. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It is pretty pointless. The story they ended up telling. Also, the ending of the film it makes Halloween Ends make even less sense because of the fact that you had the whole scene at the end of Halloween Kills where he is like the Terminator, and then I guess apparently that made him so weak that he couldn't do shit anymore and had to go hide in the sewer and lick his wounds. And I'm like, what was the point of all that? To show him that he's this unstoppable force of nature and the shape is real, only for him to just be human. It was just dumb. And then you throw in this stuff with Corey and him getting bullied by band kids. Like, really? It's a joke. And then of course, you have the whole stuff with the Christine elements, which was so obvious that the writers, I think even the director, because John Carpenter was there because he was working on the score and he was like a producer. He actually was like, "Hey, is this too much like Christine?" And because John Carpenter is one of those guys where he just wants to smoke pot and play video games, doesn't give a fuck anymore as long as he's got his paycheck. He was like, "Ah, no, it's fine. It's not too much like Christine." But really, like it's exactly like Christine. It's just a shittier version of Christine. And yeah, the fact that Michael Myers is depicted as a guest character in his own film was insulting. Yeah. Yeah, what the fuck was that about? That's the entirety of Halloween Ends. Like, what the fuck was that about? Seriously, what the fuck? Teach their own. I mean, I can watch that as a time waster for the kills any day of the week. And for some of the cinematography and direction, and definitely over Halloween Ends. And I would say Halloween Kills to me was like the last uh Halloween film that I thought was tolerable, I guess, in this franchise. It definitely wasn't the first Halloween 2018. Now that's what I call Halloween, the greatest hits of the Halloween franchise. And it definitely wasn't Halloween Ends. Yeah, I forgot about that, Ghastly. I completely forgot about that. That was her. She actually lived. Oh, come on, that's even more ridiculous than the cop guy living after the first movie. Christ. Yeah, it threw it into a shredder. It crushed. It threw it into a crusher, literally. Retro like Rowan. I thought he still did a pretty bad job. To be perfectly honest. But then again, I mean, there's not really a whole lot he could do with what he had to work with. Yeah, that was lame. How they were blaming her for everything. It was also lame that the girl, for some reason, was like, "Oh, I'll just go be with this guy, and I want to watch the world burn with him." Makes no sense. Yeah, they reference them in every scene. Exactly. Hey, that's cool. That's fine. I mean, I'm not gonna say I loved Halloween Kills. Like, it was just okay. It was a time waster for me for the kills. But a lot of there was still a lot of the same cringy humor. Like, that's one thing that really doesn't click for me at all in this new Halloween trilogy. But hey, who knows? From what I've read, Exorcist Believer is so bad and so boring that maybe they'll finally stop giving David Gordon Green a hand job when it comes to every film that he decides to do from another franchise. So maybe it's a good thing that Exorcist Believer is apparently going to suck so much. Yeah, she was terribly written. Uh, I don't know about that. I really, I don't know about making that into an anthology. Like, I think that would be kind of intriguing if it was done the right way, but I just rather maybe just do a different sort of franchise or something, not necessarily make it Halloween. He is, and it might not even be a trilogy because the first reactions to the first film in the series is not good. Well, I never bought him as a misunderstood bad boy. See, that's the problem too. I never bought him as that, especially after the way they introduced him in the beginning of the movie, being afraid, being a total pussy. Oh my god, I'm locked in a room with cobwebs and maybe a spider or two. Oh shit, let me out. I've only been in here for 30 seconds, but oh my god, I can't handle it. It's too scary. But yeah, bad movie. And yeah, I know a lot of people pointed this out. And yeah, it's sad the second worst film on my list gave me a nasty sickness. Yeah, I was really sick. I got like a really bad sinus infection. And like I was even starting to get symptoms of the sinus infection while I was recording that rant. um yeah, it's number 2. It's number 2. I said, God damn, what a rush. No, I did not see Halloween Ends in the theater, thankfully. Um, Number 1 on my worst list is another sequel, and it's Clerks 3. What the fuck happened to Kevin Smith? I mean, I know I've asked this question numerous times. I know I did a short little rant video on it, but yeah, I am just baffled as to what happened to this man, especially after seeing a lot of his other films leading up to this. Um, in particular, Dogma. Dogma is such a well written, clever script and legitimately good film in a lot of different ways. And it's crazy to me to think that the same guy who wrote and directed that is responsible for Clerks 3. And it's crazy to think the same guy who did Clerks 2 is responsible for Clerks 3. It's that bad. It's a funeral for the entire Clerks franchise. It's a depressing, sad sack of a sequel that represents everything that I hate about a lot of modern sequels where they deconstruct characters and the franchise, pull Last Jedi or Alien 3 in some half-assed attempt to make things more deep and more poignant, and all they do is just absolutely annihilate the legacy of the franchise and the characters. It's just such a just disgraceful, despicable film with just really just half-hearted, half-assed attempts at drama that don't work. It's depressing as hell, and it doesn't fit the tone of the Clerks franchise. It's almost like one of those things where, hey, what if we have the original ending for Clerks where Dante dies? Like what if we just made a film from that universe and just turned up the depressing bullshit meter to 11? That's what you get with Clerks 3. And as a comedy, it's even more pathetic because there isn't any laughs. There's nothing funny about it. There are countless moments where they're just providing lazy fan service because you have these characters just doing these characters. You just have Randall. He's just remaking Clerks and doing a bad job and making a shitty version of Clerks. Like that's great. That's great fan service. Let's make a shitty version of a movie that is considered to be a classic and people enjoy. Let's just do that again, but make it suck. And it doesn't help either that it seems like Kevin Smith just doesn't understand or remember how to write these characters, especially Randall. Like Randall, he was like a jackass, but there was something likable and somewhat endearing about him. In Clerks 3, he's an unlikable jerk off, and there really isn't much endearing about him at all. And Dante isn't really that much better because he's just constantly a sad sack and crying and just a total soy boy. Um, yeah, he's total crybaby, overly emotional about everything. And I read something that Kevin did. Decided to go to an institution at one point, and he was all messed up, and that sucks. And I hope he's in a better place mentally. But he still made these movies. He still wrote these films. He still did all this stuff, even when he wasn't. He clearly admitted he wasn't in the best frame of mind. And with Clerks 3, I mean, you even have like I mean, if you've seen the movie, you got Dante's funeral at the end, and there's that whole scene where Randall's like, I wasn't even supposed to be here today. And it's supposed to be like straight and serious. And I'm like, that's just terrible. That's laughable. That's so bad. Clerks 2 wasn't even necessarily something that was necessary, but it was still fun. And it ended the Clerks franchise and honestly the View Askew universe on the best possible note. And then you get Clerks 3 that just shows up, spreads its ass wide open, takes a shit all over it, then whips its dick out, pisses on it, then lights it on fire. Just 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 really, really sad. Yeah, he lost his edge. He did. Yeah, James Silent Bob reboot, that did suck. But it sucked less than Clerks 3. That's saying a lot. And yeah, it is. It's really sad what Kevin Smith became. It's a total 180. I mean, now he's the type of person that he would have made fun of. Now he's the guy in the first Clerks who's like, I'm offended. Like, he's that guy now. That's who Kevin Smith is. He's the guy who's offended at seeing something that he didn't want to see. But hey there, thanks, Ghastly. Have a good night. Hope you have some good good dreams. Don't have any nightmares about Corey for Halloween ends. Yeah, I mean, I do feel that that definitely did take its toll on him after Zack and Mary make a porno, but that was part of the problem too, is because he tried to go mainstream. He tried to sell out and didn't work. Yeah, that doesn't help either. They went full SJW. But yeah, that's my list, folks. That's my list of the worst films of 2022 with Clerks 3 topping the list. I did a rant on that. You can check that out if you haven't already. I've done rants on a lot of the films that I have on this list, except for Texas Chainsaw 2022, because I wanted to do some Texas Chainsaw Massacre reviews, and then time got away from me, and then I never really wound up recording it. But it's crazy to me though that he's like, "Oh, I'm offended," and blah 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 blah, and so sensitive now. When you know Clerks 2, there was a donkey show. You know, it's like it's insane. And you have the stuff in Dogma, and you're like, "What the hell happened?" It really is a mystery. And I know a lot of people are gonna, definitely point to the pot, and I agree with that, but that's only part of the explanation. That explains why his writing went downhill in terms of the quality of it, but that doesn't necessarily explain the other things that are going on with Kevin Smith. Yeah, why he's such a big schmuck now. So I don't really know what else to. I did see a couple trailers. I saw the trailer for the new Martin Scorsese movie. Was it Killers of the Flower Moon or something? I think that's what it's called. Something Flower Moon. It looked like it was well shot. Good cast. Scorsese is definitely a great director, but I don't really know about the plot, and it just looked like kind of a boring movie to me. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Then I saw a trailer for this other movie called Theater Camp, and it looked like another just woke SJW ridden attempt to try to be a comedy that didn't look funny at all. But it checked all these particular boxes in terms of representation and whatever. Um, I know there's a new. Oh yeah, the Dial of Destiny. 4 hours? Fuck. Ah, damn. Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny received a lukewarm response. I'm not surprised. There was a trailer in it where you had a whole like bit about capitalism or whatever, and how like Indy got woman splained by the sidekick. It was just cringe. It's just the whole concept is just cringe. It's a dumb idea. We don't need another Indiana Jones, especially when Harrison Ford is 80 years old. I mean, he was already old enough in the last movie. But maybe finally, this film, when this film comes out and people see it and it sucks, and it legitimately sucks, then people are gonna stop shitting on the Crystal Skull so much and acting like that film is just garbage and one of the worst sequels ever. Just because they saw a video by Red Letter Media. Yeah, it is. It's overhated. It's got issues. It's not as good as the other 3, but it's still an entertaining adventure movie. And I'm calling it right now. It's more than likely gonna be better than Dial of Destiny. Hey, that's great. That's great. I'm glad that's what Tarantino is trying to do. Honestly, I think from what I've heard some good things about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I haven't seen it yet. Tarantino could probably just stop with that movie. From what I've heard from a lot of people, you could just call it quits right now. It'd be fine. Yeah, that's right. Indiana Jones 5 won't even be as good as Firewalker. Hell, I'll go one further. It won't be as good as King Solomon's Mines or Alan Quartermain and the Lost City of Gold. Have seen Guardians 3 yet? No, I haven't seen it yet. But I love the first film. The first film was honestly one of my all-time favorite Marvel movies. It might be my favorite Marvel film in the entire MCU. That's how much I really like Guardians, the first one. The second one I did enjoy it, but I haven't seen it in forever. I would like to see the third one sometime, but here's the thing, folks. I have a subscription to Regal Unlimited, but I'm thinking about canceling it because it's like $21.99 a month, and I rarely get out and go to the theater anymore. And even these big event movies, it's like, I mean, 4K and streaming quality, and especially quality on disc, have improved so much that I don't know. I'd rather just watch it in the comfort of my own home. I'd rather, if I'm going to see some in the theater, I'd rather go and see like a classic film in 35 millimeter. Like when I saw the Blob remake in 35 millimeter. That's what, if I'm going to go out and see something in the theater, I'd rather do that, because a lot of them are just going to wind up on streaming soon anyway. Like I saw Sisu in the theater, but it wasn't really like a film that I had to see in the theater. The theatrical experience didn't add a ton to it. I could have watched that on streaming. And I feel the same way about a lot of these other movies. And it's just like, why? Why? I mean, I can see why a lot of people are like, I don't really want to go to the theater as much anymore. Unless you have like a big group of friends and you go along with them, that's one thing. But otherwise, it's like, seems like a hassle and like waste of money. And you just wait till it shows up on streaming, uh, or you buy it on Blu-ray. Like, really not a whole lot of incentive to see in the theater anymore. Yeah, that would be good. It doesn't even have to be in 35 millimeter. Just show more of these older films, and then, maybe have like a certain day out of every month, like they do for the Mystery Monday movies at Regal, and just do one for like classic films. And then you're like, oh, okay, to go see it for like $5 or something. No, I'm not going to see that in the theater. I wouldn't mind checking out some of the Fast and Furious movies again. I haven't watched the 4Ks that I have. I have a box set of all the movies, and I still haven't seen Fast 9 actually. The last one I saw was the 8th film. Fast and Furious as a franchise is interesting because I was never super big on it until the 5th movie. I love the 5th film. I think the 5th film, Fast 5, is the best film in the series. And I think the franchise is one of those rare franchises that got better with the fifth installment and forward until recently. Because I like the sixth one, the seventh one has some issues. Started to show its cracks. Then I didn't mind the spinoff Hobbs and Shaw. Um, but yeah, I didn't really care for the eighth Fast and Furious. But even though I didn't really care for a lot of those sequels, they're still a lot better than Fast and Furious. Film that was so bad. Here's what I remember about Fast and Furious, the fourth film. I watched it with my dad when I was riding on the truck with him because he's a long haul truck driver, and I was riding with him for a little bit. And we watched it together, and we both got drunk on Bud Light. And of course, this is prior to the current controversy because it's years ago. We got drunk on Bud Light, and all I remember is just being tired and wanting to pee a lot. And that's my memory of Fast and Furious. Being drunk, buzzed, tired, wanting to piss like a racehorse, and remembering the just god awful CGI when it comes to the race scene at the end that looked like it came out of a PlayStation 2 game. That's what I remember. Yeah, it kind of was. But I still don't mind the first film. The second one I had fun with. I haven't seen the third film, and 7, 8, and 9 are not worth it. Not surprised. Yeah, I mean, I saw the special edition of Return of the Jedi already in the theater. I saw the special edition of Empire. I saw both of those in the theater when they came out, I think in the 2000s or the 90s. Like when the special editions first came out, they had a theatrical release. I saw those in the theater. I didn't need to see it again. You have the stupid Vader going, "No! No!" Although to be honest, that's just a perfect meme for Star Wars nowadays. Any new announcement of a new Star Wars property, like the Acolyte or some shit from Kathleen Kennedy from Lucasfilm, it's just cut to Vader in the special edition. No, it's so fitting. It's so perfect. Which one do I like better, the first Fast and Furious or Point Break? Honestly, the first Fast and Furious, even though Point Break is technically the one that came first. Ugh. Sorry, my eyes are watering. Probably from all the bullshit. Um, on that note, especially since my eyes are watering like crazy, um, I think I might have something in my eye. Um, I think I'm gonna call it a night for right now, so I can recover. I'm not getting sick again. It's just there's literally something in my eye right now. Um, thanks for joining the live stream, and I'll try to do another one later on. This this month. Maybe talk about like my picks for the best of 2022. Maybe I'll have a special guest then, maybe not. But until then, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you later. Ah, holy shit.
Hmm.